always love a good fight scene. It's, in my opinion, the most gripping and interesting part of a film. It's important to me in a fight scene that the fighting styles, the weapons, it's all based in history, that it comes from some place of truth. I always find it interesting to see how skillfully each character adapts to differing adversaries in a fight. It says a lot about the way they think, their capabilities, their strength, their power, their weakness, how they wield their weapons and their different things that they have at their disposal to obtain a goal through conflict. One of my favorite things about the battle scene in the Fellowship of the Ring, the Battle of Amen Hen, is when Boromir comes to the rescue of Merry and Pippin. There's several sequences where he is battering through the Uruk-hai shields, and he's using crosscuts, left, right, just beating the shield around before he makes an opening for himself to kill the orcs. And that's something that I found really interesting because it not only was accurate and realistic to what he would have had to do in that situation, but it really talked about his headspace, his worldview and perspective on life. He was just pounding it out. I believe that character is communicated through fighting style and in fight scenes. I think it speaks much more subtly than dialogue and situations that they move through. I also think that culture is expressed through the weaponry and the armor. You can tell where an army or warrior is from based on the style of their armor. That's true to life as well. And in the same way, a certain uniform can indicate that you're from a certain place. The different types of weapons you're fighting with, the different styles of warfare that you and your soldiers are working through and working in, that also tells the audience about your culture. The weapons and armor also speak of the environment, what it was like to live in that place at that time. In Kingdom of Heaven, they have, this heavy armor that they're walking around in, and that's not comfortable. So the fact that you see guys trudging miles on end, wearing this heavy chainmail, carrying these big swords and axes and shields, you know that this is a place that's full of danger, that really anything could happen at any time, and they've got to be prepared at all times because of that. So there's these visual cues to be picked up from the fighting style and things surrounded that side of the film that I think really add a depth, a breadth, and a believability to a film. Alright, so I'm about to meet the fight choreographer for the first time. I am pretty stoked about that.
My name is Gerald Garner, and I'm a fight choreographer. I've been involved in martial arts since I was 3 years old. I was in the U.S. military for about 7 years, and after that, that's when I really began to actually do a lot more training in the hand-to-hand and weapons arts. As a child, of course, I was involved in taekwondo and karate, of course, growing up in a pretty tough neighborhood. I wasn't the biggest person around, and what I was able to do was take the skills over time that I had learned in the military and I learned from other fighting instructors and I learned in the field to bring it to Hollywood for realism. I actually work for Siglok Military Tactical, where we are specialists in, of course, hand-to-hand combat weapons, military operations, to set, I guess, say realism on the movie set. One of the things I learned about weapons when I was young was, you have to know how to use a weapon, and it starts from a person understanding their body, learning hand-to-hand combat first without a weapon, learning your footing, learning how to judge an attacker, learning when to strike, how quick to strike, also when to attack and when not to attack. All that comes into play without a weapon. All a weapon is, whether it be a rock, whether it be a knife, a bow and arrow, or a spear or a stick, is an extension of your body. In the first fight scene, I think it starts around page 10, there's the brothers, there's 4 of them. There's 3 of the main brothers and there's 1 who's actually a half brother. So I guess they paired them all off and everything. So I imagine that the 2 other brothers who are actually from the same father and same mother, they're not going to fight each other as hard as they would trying to hurt the half brother. So
Yeah.
But so I broke it up into 3 different attacks for you.
So one of the things with this main character, he's not overtly impressive. You don't look at him and see anything special, but at the same time, he's not the scrawny kid on the block, you know?
Right.
He's very much the background warrior, so to speak, in a fight scene. You know, he's any man who gets levied into a militia, has to hold his own, but isn't the hero.
I kind of figured that. So by Thorkel being, you said, the larger brother, older, fierce, of course, and Halfdanr being maybe in the middle or not, of course, not as big. You know, he's just the average, like I say, every average Joe with some muscle. It kind of felt like the attack that Thorkel would do would be the straight, direct attack. You know, because he's large. He's going to use his muscle. He's going to use his ferocity, his strength. He's going to intimidate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of like how I wrote the first scene.
So what do you think about now the weapons? This is what you're going to kind of have on set, the type of
yeah,
axes and things like that? Or?
Let's see if I have a pencil or a pen. So a lot of the axes that I'm looking at are the bearded axes. So this one's pretty close, or very close. This one's pretty good too.
Okay.
I like this
So,
guy.
like a fireman. Okay.
Yeah, and so he's got like his piece that kind of hangs down, and with that space there allows him to hook weapons.
Okay. Yep. That would be something like this, but smaller. In other words, I make a smaller one, maybe about 1.5 feet.
Right.
Maybe.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah, to fit.
15
Kind of
to
concealed,
20.
easily to grab.
Right. Yep. Almost
Okay.
like a big hatchet.
So I thought today went really well. Lance came to me and he said, "Hey, Robert, I really want, somebody that's going to take a look at the script, break down my notes, dive into the history of what these warriors did back then." And I immediately knew Gerald and him were going to be a perfect fit. And yeah, we're going to see what happens next. Next, we got to get the actors trained.
I had a really awesome time today. I mean, when I got here and they had the wooden weapons that he'd made and the shields he'd made, I got really excited. That was a very good sign to me. I mean, he's invested in it personally. For all the films I used to make, in middle school, high school, just getting started, I would make all the wooden weapons and, spray paint them silver, put duct tape on them, whatever I could to make them look a little more real. So this was just a piece of my heart here coming to see like this. I'm really excited to start working with the actors, building this choreography, and then really just making it something that comes to life and that's unique to this film. I'm glad it's not going to be just a cookie cutter sword fight, left, right. No, I'm not about that. So, yeah, this excites me.